Righty, Parramatta Eels are up next. They finished 11th last year, equal on wins with that clump of everybody else. I was going to say there's like 4 of them. This year, how does their draw look before I talk about their ins and outs?
Another one with the toughest draw going around, to be honest. 8 out of 8 possible games against the top 4 from last year. With the same, them and South are the only 2 that are going up against the top 4 twice this season. And they don't have a lot of games against that bottom 3 either. So they're right up there with South for the toughest draw in the comp.
They've got a great start. They have, apart from Penrith, they play no one in the top last year's top 4 until the bye in round 9. Then they cop everyone for the rest of the year. So they would want to be 8 or 9 wins out of that first 10 because that back end is a horror.
Especially considering that those better teams generally start to play better footy later in the season as well.
Exactly right. This year they've picked up Morgan Harper from Manly, who seems to be all but a shorter spot from what I read from Brad Arthur. And the Kelma Tuolangi from Manly as well, who has in last year's mentioned play himself out of the Tigers side and out of the Manly side. They've lost Jake Arthur. They've lost Waka Blake, who Morgan Harper will replace, I assume. Oh, no, they had the other centre, sorry. Nathan Brown has been released, but he's since been picked up, and I believe now with Tuipulotu. We'll get to Manly later. Nathan Brown's gone to Manly. No Davey, no Hodgson, who retired. Jack Murchie and Mitch Rain gone as well. They've doubled down and extended their halves. What we see is what we get from Parrot, and I think will be for the next 5 years as well. They have, I didn't mention this first couple of teams, but they're 2 trials. We'll learn more next week. They've got the Raiders and they've got the Titans on the 25th. Best 11, or 17 as we say in rugby league, is Gutho at fullback, Sean Russell on the wing, Harper or Simonson centre, Penasini, Sivo, Brown Moses, Campbell Gillard. There's going to be one of Lustick or Hands in the team, Arthur has said. As yet, we'll see how that pans out. Let's put Lussick there for now. Paulo Lane, can't they get him back from injury? Madison, Hopgood. The bench is Cartwright, Greg, Offengawe and Makatoa. Same as Souths. What you see is what you get from last year, but what does that actually mean, Barn? What's the Parramatta play style? How would you describe that?
Yeah, right. So they've got one of the stronger half combos in the competition with very good kicking games and opportunistic running games. When spaces do provide open up, they do provide quite a good running game. They do have a heavy reliance on the forward pack with the big mobile forward pack going through the middle. When they get the second phase going with the offloads, they do seem to play a more exciting brand of football, but they also do seem quite happy to get into the slog and just play the power ball running through the middle. And at times, for mine, that's a little bit detrimental to some of the work that they can do with their outside backs. Takes away a bit of the time with the ball going out, getting a bit wider and creating try-scoring opportunities while they dominate field position and get a decent chunk of the ball in the middle of the field. It does take away from limits their attacking opportunities at times.
And Brad Arthur, as a coach, is very reliant on his old faithfuls. He'll very rarely have both his front rowers off the field. There'll always be an RC. There'll always be a pillar, whether it's Paulo, whether it's RCG, or both. And he had a great year too, Greg. But he has more faith, I think, in Rimu Greg as that year went on. So it'll base around that. The best footy was probably 2 years ago, as you said, when offloads got involved. Paulo was ball playing. Madison was at his ball playing best, offloading best. I think Sean Lane was missing last year in terms of offloads.
100%.
So you put him back in, changes the dynamic from what they had last year. And Joe Offengawe is the same. He's a bit forgotten, but fantastic footballer, now getting older. Just got lost in a shuffle, was the best player at Tigers for 2 years till they flicked him. And if he's now in their rotation, I think he's someone they can trust as well. There's a utility question, and I guess the X factor they're on the lookout for is a question mark in terms of that. But I think Bryce Cartwright provides that a little bit off the bench.
Best season
exactly.
I think we've ever seen him play.
He's now got his head together and is in a good space. That all being said, what does it mean for this year?
For
By
mine,
the way, jump in at any time, Greg. Feel free to.
the versatility of the bench is very limited. They have Joey Lussick there that might come on and play a bit of hooker here and there.
Well,
but
basically, again, and all this stuff is coming from Daily Telegraph coaches' interviews that they've done a series for every team. Been very informative for some. It's been less informative for other Canberra-based sides. But he suggested he ultimately wants an 80-minute hooker. So so they're heading that way, which I assume is going to mean Cartwright plays 14 because there's not any other utility options, is there?
No, they really should be trying to nurture somebody, whether they are a kid, and throw them in there and get them a bit of experience, because I think that's the one spot that can come to Parramatta's detriment. If you can get Parramatta off that front foot roll through the middle with their big guys and match them in the middle of the field, sort of hold that to a stalemate. Mitchell Moses from mine's not someone who can play that well off the back foot. Very good kicking game, especially a long kicking game.
Yeah.
But it ends up, for mine, it comes down to then either being a pop ball from someone like Hopgood or Lane on an edge, or Dylan Brown has to run the show. And while his running game's terrific, his selection and cutout passes probably don't hit the mark as often as you'd like them to, and that breaks down some of the work that the outside backs can do to score points.
And the Penasini has got the footwork and ability to beat blokes one-on-one, but the rest of their outside backs are largely either finishers, and you've got Sevo, who's the wrecking ball, but don't add a lot in terms of run meters. It's generally very much, they're probably the most reliant on their forward pack getting out of half in the competition.
I would think
behind Canberra.
Yeah.
Behind Canberra, I think that's fair. Gutho, so the other thing you get from Parramatta, and he's the heart and soul of the team. The captain, Clint Gutherson, is the, barometer of the team. When he's fit, there's no player that tries harder in the competition.
There's a definition of effort, that
and,
bloke.
and when he's fit and firing and getting involved as the third playmaker, I think that's probably the other time they're at their best.
Yes, 100%.
And it's going to be very reliant on him to do the same this year. What he brings, he's got the cutout. He's very good at drawing the line. He's got a good cutout ball. Fantastic support player, and as I said, you wouldn't find too many blokes that try harder in the whole competition, or complain more. But maybe the halfback. But anyway,
they've got the two at the top. Did you leave Russell out of your?
No, I had him on the wing.
You had him?
On the wing, but I guess Simonson.
He grouped the two of the centres together.
Okay, yep.
So
Yeah,
it would be one of these two.
Yeah, but I feel like Harper's got the inside running there, which could put Simonson onto a wing. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine he would be on the wing with Penasini. I don't see Penasini losing his spot,
No,
so
definitely.
it'd be between Harper and Sean Russell, I would imagine, for the other spot in the centres.
And it sounds like Harper's been all but guaranteed a spot, so could have him left out.
Look, you mentioned Mitch Moses earlier. I thought last year was almost his best season in it. He was able
Absolutely.
to actually produce off the back foot at times.
Yep.
Against Penrith, he kicked them to death. He kicked them to victory there. He didn't, he's been labelled a flat track bully for many years. I thought he was their best player just about last year. And
100%,
with the start to the year, through a Supercoach, etc., has talked about, he's someone that interests me at $200K cheaper than the others, and at least for the first 6 weeks, we might be able to get something out of.
Yeah, his long passing and long kicking game is tremendous. For mine, the question marks are around that short passing and putting guys through holes that are on his hip. He seems to prefer to run rather than try to ball play at the line, and that for a smaller bloke, trying to do that can get lined up a few times and ironed out by some of those big back rowers. But don't get me wrong, Parramatta are going to look like world beaters at different times during the season.
Yes.
They're going to look like the best team in the comp.
Yes.
A couple
And
of
they
rounds during the
traditionally,
year.
the last 3 years have beaten Melbourne, they've beaten Penrith. Consistently.
Exactly. They'll be probably, they'll go on runs of 3 and 4 games where they look like they can't be beaten, and then they'll put in an absolute shocker against someone like they did in the last 2 or 3 years. I don't know what they do to get the consistency, and for mine it's the consistency of their outside backs. Some of those guys can, as I said, look like world beaters one week and then look like they don't belong in first grade the week after. So,
Sevo's a big one for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Given a fair shake of everything turns out their way, they should be in that top 8. But just with the draw and the way that things have panned out for them towards the back end of the year, I think the back end of the year might just take its toll a little bit, and then they'll be in that clump at worst.
Speaking of taking its toll, I'm quite worried about Gutho, actually, that how long is it going to take until he has a Tedesco-type drop-off, where he is the heart and soul, he puts in, and then his body just can't keep up with it.
I think, whether it's said or not, the suggestion is at some point he's going to end up at centre. If they can find a Jaden Campbell or a superstar fullback, only because Jaden Campbell I think was at one point linked.
He was.
He'll end up at centre. He's played centre for New South Wales. He's a very good player. I don't know if that necessarily suits him. Like, he's obviously a very good organising fullback in terms of what he does, but
they'll also need to find somebody that puts in the same amount of effort as he does, though.
Exactly.
Because having the X factor is going to be great, but it'll help them 3 times a game, whereas Gutho is there covering every tackle. He's there.
There's probably 4 fullbacks that you could you could say do that, and that's about it.
Yeah.
They're not very easy to find.
So it may not be this year, but I see it coming that if they don't move him and replace him, he's going to have a drop-off where he's going to spend a fair bit of time on the sidelines injured.
Yeah. I think ultimately with Parramatta, if you're a Parramatta fan, you're going to know your fate in the first 6 weeks. If they're not 5 or 6 from 6, I think you're in a world of trouble. I think the premiership window closed a couple of years ago, to use that dickbag term. But the harsh reality is, this is Parramatta. This is the best they're going to be. This is what they're going to be for the next 3 to 5 years. And they finished 10th. At the end of the day, they finished 10th.
I think
they've got a settled spine. They've got a settled forward pack. But I don't see where the improvement's going to come from unless there's a concerted effort from the players themselves. That sounds really wanky saying out loud. Let me think of a better way to say that. I think perhaps they misread Marnie more than we realised in terms of a settling influence.
Yeah,
but
that concerted effort for mine has to be second phase play.
Yeah.
It's all well and good to be taking 10 and 12 metres every hit up, but if there's nothing coming off the back of it, whether, because when some of those bigger guys get put on their back, those play the balls aren't the quick ones that you're jumping off the back of and creating space out wide. I think you really, if I was coaching them, I'd be telling Hopgood and Lane, whenever you feel like you've got more than a 50-50 chance to pop it, just let it go.
Yeah.
Play that second phase play, and because I think there's some players in that team, the likes of Gutherson, Dylan Brown,
2022,
Penasini, that could absolutely thrive on that type of
2022, when they produced their best footy, was all of that. And I know they missed Madison for I think it's 4 weeks.
Chuck Paulo and Madison in there as well. You've got another 2 that can do the same thing.
Cartwright. I think Lane's a big in. I think 2 years ago we'll want him in the Australian team or in the Australian squad, and I think we perhaps forget.
I think if they put an effort around that second phase play, they can start challenging everyone, and they'll be pushing up in towards the top 6. But I can see them getting a bit stale in the middle, and probably maybe even missing the 8. To be honest,
I've got them right on that cusp of the 8. The fate will be known sort of 6 weeks in. I mean, they got a strong finish. They play the Tigers around 27, but
ninth place playoff.
Yeah.
You know what I want to do with Parra? I want to back him to beat Penrith in round 2, and then I want to back him to miss the 8 after that.
Well, Penrith are the bunnies for them, so.
Is it round 2? Whenever they play them. They play them quite early.
3, I thought.
Yeah. Any final words on Parramatta? Now round 2 at Bluebet.
No.
Yeah, they'll beat Penrith. You watch.
Yeah, big season for both halves, and the Sean Lane coming back will, depending on whether he can stay fit.
And Para fans will be screaming at us now watching this on YouTube, saying, we didn't have Brown for 3 months and all the rest of it. And that's fair because he has spiders on him at times, but I just feel like they are what they are. Okay, anything else? All right, no worries. We did 2 hours in Supercoach. None of us mentioned Sean Lane. It's been nothing but the Sean Lane Spruik session in everywhere on Supercoach land. Are you interested?
Absolutely.
440?
60 minutes of footy out of Sean Lane should see him average around 60 to 70 points, and that's really good scoring from anyone in Supercoach land. So for mine, he's probably one of the first picked.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I haven't got him ranked that highly, but he's definitely a strong consideration at this point.
I mean, it is the toughest spot
Yeah.
on the field to field just about. Supercoach coaches are weird. Like, they sort of want to will things into existence.
Yeah.
Like, they want every cheapie to be picked, or they just want to hear a story about old mate playing here and it's just not going to happen.
And then there's abusive emails and
Say,
tweets.
Terrell May is going to be the buy deal. He doesn't make the team. But anyway, different story. Anything else?
Supercoaches and sports bettors are all the same.
Roosters, eh?
Fair.